us as we go live to Venezuela, where a new airplane from the Back to the Homeland plan is arriving at this hour at the international airport of Simón Bolívar at the La Guaira state. And we also, a few moments ago, listened to the statements of the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, who assured that in this airplane there should be 237 migrants arriving in the country. That we are witnessing at this moment that also there were minors on board of this airplane, and this is a moment of great joy for Venezuelans because there have been a recent united call demand for the United States to release the kidnapped children who were subjected to a forced separation from their parents. We are seeing at this moment the reunification of a mother with their two children, and this also is an achievement of the Venezuelan government, which has been in a constant negotiation, in a constant dialogue through respect and diplomacy with the administration of President Donald Trump for this moment to come. There were also 7 minors who arrived in the country last week, along with the return and the rescue of 252 Venezuelan connationals who were kidnapped in Salvadoran prisons, and all happened on the very same day. 7 children came back to the country. Now remains to be informed how many minors did this airplane brought back to the country. We are seeing at this moment that at least there have been 2 minors coming back. We can see a mother hugging their 2 children. We are also witnessing for a couple of perhaps 5 to 6 children that came in this airplane, this new airplane of the Back to the Homeland plan, a plan that is being key for Venezuelans in the past few months amid the massive deportation campaign carried out by the U.S. authorities in a context also marked by a huge xenophobic movement and campaign against migrants in the United States, Latino migrants, especially Venezuelan migrants who have been subjected to all kinds of mistreatment in a clear violations of their human rights. And this also is a moment of reassurance of the Venezuelan people that their demands are being heard, that no one will be left behind, that the government of Venezuela, led by President Nicolás Maduro, is willing to bring back to the country all of its connationals, to rescue them wherever they are, and also to keep demanding the return of all the children who are still subjected to a forced separation from their parents, who have been also deported by the government of the United States, some of them just for the only reason of having tattoos on their skin. And that was the case of the 252 migrants who were illegally sent to a concentration camp in El Salvador with a process that has had the complicity of Nayib Bukele, president of El Salvador, and also in a context in which all of their migratory rights were violated. They had no right to a due process, no right to contact their families. Now they are all united in their country with their families. Minister Diosdado Cabello informed so. They were all at home. And also now we are seeing the return to the country of minors who were kidnapped, who were separated from their family in the United States. Many of them who were also, there were no information of their whereabouts. Their parents were deported without their children. And now it's a moment in which the Venezuelan government is fulfilling its promise, is bringing back to the country all of their minors, all of the migrants who are in need, who are subjected to mistreatment, who also have been forced to separation. And we can see mothers, we can see grandmothers, we can see all of them there enjoying happiness because they are now finally reuniting with their children. Most of them have been separated even for months or years as this whole process has been taking place, a process that has been marked by xenophobic campaign, by also a campaign of hatred towards Latino migrants in the United States, and now they are finally reunited. There remains to be informed how many children have come. Last week, following the arrival of 7 minors, it was informed that there were 29 still retained in the United States. Now we will see, when Minister Diosdado Cabello offers statements, how many children have come in this airplane. As we can see once more, Minister Diosdado Cabello is at this moment receiving, welcoming, greeting all the families that came to the airport to receive their family members who were subjected to mistreatments in the United States, also welcoming the migrants that have just arrived. There was a number, 237 migrants. It remains to be seen if that list remains untouched, because there have been also misorganization procedures in past airplanes in which the United States used to send a list of names and numbers, and when the airplane arrives in the country, there happens to be a different number of migrants arriving. It remains to be seen how many of them actually arrived in the country, and also how many migrants actually arrived in the country at this moment. Let's recall that also it is taking place in a context in which the country has been subjected to all kinds of misinformation campaigns, also in a context in which the country is facing over 1,000 unilateral coercive measures imposed by the administration of President Donald Trump, which is actually one of the main reasons that hit the national economy, that also boost the intentions of the Venezuelan connationals to migrate, and they are double victims. Migrants and Venezuelans are double victims, once of the unilateral sanctions imposed on the country that hampers, that also creates difficulties for the daily life of Venezuelans, and now they are also victims of xenophobic campaigns, of mistreatment. And there has been also a single call in every demonstration, in every rally that Venezuelans have been performing for the past few months, ever since this campaign took place in January. To migrate is not a crime, but to apply unilateral sanctions is, but to kidnap children is, and also to force Venezuelans to live under these hazardous conditions also is. In spite of all of this, Venezuela has been committing to the safe return of all of its migrants who are subjected to this kind of events, and it is also a priority, a political priority for the country to leave no one behind, even though of the economic meaning that this could have for the country, and it's an action that is performed by no other country of the world is performing this process of returning to the country in a dignified manner of its connationals. It doesn't matter how many airplanes it could take, all of them are welcome in the country. We are at this moment seeing live images of the international airport, where Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, is greeting and having some words with the families of those children who have just arrived in the country. And it remains still to be informed how many of them are there and have just arrived, but it is a success. It is a victory for the Venezuelan government. It doesn't matter if in every plane comes just a few of them, but just one makes a difference, because no one is going to be left behind, because this is just a step for the process that lies ahead, and in this compromise that has made the government of Venezuela, the Bolivarian leader, Nicolás Maduro, who earlier this week also offered an exclusive interview to teleSUR in which he called and he reassured Venezuela's willingness to keep performing this process, to keep going through this process to bring back to the country all of its connationals that are at this moment stranded, kidnapped, or subjected to any kind of mistreatment in the United States, because it is a priority for the country to make sure that all Venezuelans feel accompanied, and especially the families of those who at this moment are at a limbo, a political limbo and a legal limbo in the United States because of the actions of the U.S. authorities regarding immigration issues, and also a moment in which Venezuelans have been subjected to a brutal xenophobic campaign. President Nicolás Maduro has insisted, and it is something that has been proven over the years, Venezuelans go to the United States not to be criminals, but to be workers, to perform hard work, to sustain, to help their families back in Venezuela to be more developed, and also from there to try to help their country in some way, like moving forward their family and helping them to overcome the circumstances that are created by the over 1,000 unilateral coercive sanctions imposed on the country. And let's recall this is part of the Back to the Homeland plan, and also this situation is caused by a policy that is targeting Venezuelans, and it is a process as well in which the U.S. government has been trying to portray Venezuelans as criminals, something very far away from reality, a barbarism, said President Nicolás Maduro as well. As you call, Minister Diosdado Cabello has affirmed that 237 migrants were due to arrive in the country, and it is a number that remains to be confirmed. Also, it is part of a policy that Venezuela has been implementing since 2018, when President Nicolás Maduro signed and approved this project to become a reality, which is the Back to the Homeland plan that was established, as I mentioned, in 2018 as a humanitarian initiative to facilitate the return of Venezuelan migrants who had left the country deceived by the U.S. dream, promising them a better life and actually finding the opposite. Through this plan, the government has managed to repatriate over 900,000 Venezuelans since its activation in 2018. The flights, most of them are operated by the state-owned airline Conviasa, which also has become a flagship of the Back to the Homeland plan. Those are flights free of charge and seek to offer an alternative for those migrants who wish to return to Venezuela, providing them with psychological support, social and economic assistance for their reintegration into society. In the case of children, also there are protocols to make sure that these children are in safe conditions and in good health. And we can see also the happiness in their mothers' eyes that are finally reuniting with their children after going through the worst for every mother and father who is being forcibly separated from their children. Let's recall that these Back to the Homeland flights, through this process, Venezuela has received just in this year for several months over 2,000 migrants. Let's listen to the statements of Minister Diosdado Cabello, who is said to offer statements.
Well, here we have with the families of these children, hundreds of children get here. That's the oldest one. He came with his two siblings, with his two brothers, Montserrat with his brother. All of them came, Nicole. They returned to the homeland, to love, to life. They returned to hope. And so Right now we are sharing with them an instant of the happiness of their parents, and so they must share with them, and we will continue ahead we will go ahead, and so the president has been committed to bring back the last Venezuelan kidnapped, detained in any part of the world. Today, 237 Venezuelans have arrived, and so the good news for Venezuela continue, and so we must be very happy. These children have returned to the homeland to meet again those who haven't seen the faces of joy when they encounter again. So Camila, if you've got something to say, please. Well, it is really beautiful, and we are just witnessing a new miracle, because today a new life begins for them, being with their mothers. They were separated unfairly by force from their parents, and they haven't stopped fighting for them. And so this has been possible thanks to the alliances of President Nicolás Maduro, who is the president of the miracles and has been made this miracle possible. And so I am very thrilled, excited about being here, and we will continue fighting for the children missing. And as President Maduro said, each of them will come back, and we will continue fighting to bring them back all here to Venezuela. Well, now let's continue because they have to return to their places, and we are going to continue with the regular procedures. They have to be checked up by the medical personnel, because this has not been easy. The stage they have been living separated from their parents, but today they have the warmth of their parents. Good afternoon to all. Joy in our country. Today is Friday, and it is a very happy Friday. Hugs.
We were listening to statements of Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, who was informing of the arrival of 237 migrants, including 7 minors. This is a new miracle for Venezuelans, a new miracle that was possible thanks to the hard work, the efforts of President Nicolás Maduro, of the whole Bolivarian government at this moment. It is a moment of joy for Venezuelans. 237 migrants are back to the country, including 7 children. And now